What do you get when you take popular concepts from manga and manhwa like drinking poison almost for funsies, reincarnation, and becoming a female villain from a storybook? You get I Will Become the Villain's Poison Taster. The story starts off like you would imagine, the female lead downing a vial of poison and saying it tastes like strawberry milk. With the failed assassination attempt, the man in the black outfit tries a drop of the poison she just downed a second ago and dies. And this happens over and over again to the point that she just decides to drink the poison to cut on the bullshit. That is until two men show up at her jail cell one night. The first one sticks to the shadows the whole time, while the second one has a set of keys for her jail and just walks right in. Luckily, but also unfortunately for our female villain with the possessed body of someone from this world that isn't ours, this guy is coming to stab her rather than try to poison her again, all the while crying that this is revenge for his dearly departed fiancée. The first man who is sticking to the shadows gave our main girl a vial of poison, to which before the second man showed up, she tried negotiating an escape and a job opportunity. She drinks the poison and yells at the first man to save her already, which he does. She is also proud that he doesn't stupidly drink the last drop in the vial like the other assassins. After their escape from the jail, we learn the man with oh no, black hair and red eyes again. I hope he isn't another warmonger like the rest. We learned that his name is Reniel. Sadly for our female lead, Reniel seems to have rescued her from jail for his own reasons. His reasons? The body that the female lead possesses was someone who apparently summoned a being from another world. Yep, it seems Reniel also read the script of the story somewhere and knows that the one using the body of this story's female villain, Giselle Rosavin, isn't Giselle Rosavin at all. Scared out of her damn mind at becoming a lab rat for the tall, dark, handsome man that both saved and threatened her life, she continues to insist that she is Giselle Rosavin. Raniel repeated that our female lead isn't at all Giselle Rosavin, that is notorious throughout society. This is when our female lead tries to strike another deal with Raniel. She offers her knowledge of what happens to important characters in the future and her services as a poison taster. And this is how our girl here gets hired as a shopkeeper for a store that sells cursed items. Every day, our female lead must taste new poisons and get harassed by people dropping off items but never buying anything. That is when she isn't caught trying to escape the shop or when she accidentally gets tricked into being kidnapped by the novel's male protagonist. All the while, our female lead is constantly being called Crazy Giselle by almost everyone who comes into the shop. And the entire time, the audience is probably wondering what is actually going on. Reniel is acting oddly shady and looking at our female lead like he is studying a wild rabbit. The male lead of the original novel is more of a jerk than one would suspect, and we still don't know the actual name of the female lead. Also, it feels like Raniel is really the one who is running the whole bad guy faction, Black Clouds, even though Giselle and I assume everyone else thinks this leader is Wayne. Huh. That is very interesting. I guess that would make sense. Who would leave, I assume, an 18-year-old kid the leader of such a huge, rebellious organization, even if he had an unusually huge amount of magic compared to others? As to why he is secretly the leader and letting this other guy look like he is, who can say? But there definitely seems to be a plan afoot, and sadly, the girl who is possessing the body of Giselle Rosavins found a way to be stuck in the middle of the drama and possibly war. By the way, this is originally the webcomic I was supposed to review before they had me switch it to FMyX, so I figured since this month I did a pseudo ad because of the limitations I was given, I might as well finish working on this one and try out a couple of picture editing software. We sadly live in an age that almost everything is done with computers, so I gotta make myself learn just the basics at least. The opening joke I like making is basically what I thought of this story in the fewest words possible, and also possibly the most literal trope. Two of those tropes at the top of this video I mentioned are extremely common in both manga and manhwa that I kind of have to wonder if we are going to get tired of that, like how superhero movies became kind of oversaturated in Western movies. Not that I think reincarnation stories and becoming the bad guy is bad at all. Just weird how half of the stories I've randomly come across and noticed when I'm not looking for something specific tends to be these kind of stories. And you know what? I get mostly disappointed with the villain stories because they are also reincarnation. It's said at the top of those stories that the person now residing in the girl bad guy body is one from our world who was reading the book with the characters that she now comes across. Sadly, most of the time, the bad guys aren't actually that bad, so no fun being jerks to each other like in Harley Quinn. And kinda minor spoilers for those who care about that stuff, fingers in ears or make loud noises. But all the ones that I've decided to read of this kind of setup, turns out that our female lead is actually from the world of the book that she now lives in. 90% of the time that is her original body she resides in, so that means she never technically reincarnated. It's just odd and confusing. Like, what kind of post-death hallucination that makes this be what you imagine, a world with no magic or lords or kings or monsters, one where you work in a huge city with cell phones, cars, and the internet, then you wake up to a time before your previous death happened. The only reason I can think of how this just keeps being a thing is it's an odd attempt at the boy who leaves the farm or call to adventure trope. These tend to be popular choices for fantasy stories because the main character would usually be a young person just leaving their mundane life of growing food or caring for farm animals to the fantasy world that we will learn along with them. Also, being a huge percentage of these kinds of stories is it being a coming of age story, which is popular with kids to young adult readers. Also, I have to kind of wonder if many of these stories are probably self-insert fanfic with the serial numbers filed off. I have no proof of this, just an odd feeling of having seen something like this somewhere else before. So besides this being very commercial fiction based on popular tropes, the girl who I have yet named, that is because she hasn't told us or anyone else. This even becomes a running joke in the story where Reniel asks her what her name is and she just insists on being Giselle Roosevelt. This is probably why Reniel teases her but also tells everyone to call her Crazy Giselle. And the girl who is possessing Giselle's body, I assume she has to be at least in her mid-20s from her experience in working in an office and shifting her behavior based on the situation, which is probably what makes Reniel interested in her at all. And yeah, speaking of Reniel himself, he feels like another Yandere character, but also not at the same time. It's a bit hard to explain. It feels like he is missing the fanatic, murder-happy aspect of what most would see as a yandere, but he also has other aspects like being highly controlling and this spoiler later in the story. But whether or not he is one of those characters, jury's out and they say maybe and or maybe not sure. From what I've seen so far, he is possibly a legit paranoid guy on the run, likes insurances before taking anything on, and who is also playfully mischievous despite taking on more than he can handle when needed. Honestly, Reniel seems to be the character one might be the most interested in this entire story. I don't like him personally, but I can't say at all that he is boring to watch. A combo of Reniel and our female lead makes this an entertaining viewing experience at the very least. I Will Become the Villain's Poison Taster is available on Manta. It is also available on Webtoons, and I have also found it available on Tapas and Tappytoon. Even though I'm no longer obligated to make a review of the story, I decided that to make it anyways, but you should check it out, and you can do it legally on Manta because right now they have a free pass system that allows you to read more than just the 3 sample chapters. Currently, you can read 73 chapters out of 105. That is more than half of the series currently out.